Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, Matt's going to be teaching you a beautiful arrangement of What Was I Made For? Now, this is a song that was written for the Barbie movie, and if you haven't seen it, it is played at the very end of the movie in a very emotional scene. And when you're watching it, you can feel all of the emotion that her character goes through. And I have to say that Matt's performance was able to capture all the feels that you experience in that scene, which is hard to do because he's playing this song as a solo instrumental ukulele song. So the big question is, how does he express so much emotion in his playing? Well, the answer is finesse. So I'm going to link a lesson right here and in the description box below, which covers how Matt is able to have 100% control over the tone and the volume of the notes and the chords that he is playing. So definitely check that lesson out before jumping into this one. So let's take a step back though. Let's talk a little bit about this lesson. So I think this piece is going to be perfect for the intermediate player. So if that's where you're at, this should be a good challenge for you. But in this video, Matt is going to be teaching you the entire arrangement, but if you'd like to get the tabs to print off and follow along with, that's going to be available at this link right here, or you can go to the site rockclass101.com, do a search for the song's name. Now also on that page will be the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a great feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tabs scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish, just a great asset in learning this song that much easier. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Matt to teach you how to play this tune. Don't forget to grab the high G ukulele, and I'll catch you at the end of the video.
Hello! In today's video, we're going to be learning a high G arrangement of the beautiful What Was I Made For from the Barbie movie. This is a really good exercise in finger picking, tone, and control. So let's go ahead and dive into the intro, bringing the camera down. It should look something like this. We're going to start with an F add 9 chord. Take your middle finger, add it on the 5th fret of the C string, ring finger on the 5th fret here on the E string, finally the index finger here on the 3rd fret of the A string. I find it helps to turn my fingers towards my shoulder to get them all in there. I'm going to use 3 finger picking. So I'm going to use my thumb, index, and middle fingers here. I'm going to pluck my C string with my thumb. Then I'm going to pluck my G with my thumb, E with my index, and A with my middle. And then after I've done that, I'm going to do the same thing, but move this finger down to 4. Notice how the fingers go from kind of slanted towards the shoulder to a little bit more straight up and down, to 0, 4, 5, 3, which is now an A minor 7 chord. I'm going to do the same thing. Pluck the C, and then the G, E, and A. So in time, that measure sounds something like this. Nice and slow, because that's what the song wants. 2, and 3, and 4, and... Going into the next bar here, 2, I'm going to slide this middle finger down to 2nd fret of the C string. Then I'm going to add the index here on the 1st fret of the E and the ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the G, which makes this beautiful B flat major 7. I'm going to pluck the C string and then the G, E, and A together. And that's the whole measure. So it's the same little pattern, just on 1 chord instead of 2. And in time, it sounds something like this. 2, and 3, and 4, and... Going into the 3rd measure now, I'm going to do the exact same thing I did on the 1st measure, which means play my F add 9, followed by the A minor 7. Same picking part that we did before, no variation whatsoever. In time, that should sound something like this. 2, and 3, and 4, and... Going into the 4th measure now, I'm going to go back to that B flat major 7 chord that I played just a moment ago. But I'm going to pluck the G, C, and E strings with my thumb, index, and middle fingers on my playing hand. Same ring finger, middle finger, and index finger on the G, C, and E strings, just I'm only going to pluck the G, C, and E together. And then it starts the main melody of the song. To do this, I'm going to go all the way up to 7, and I like to use my ring finger here, and then 8 on the A with the middle finger, then the ring finger. 7 and then 8, and then I play open on the A. And that kind of starts this verse section. So measure 4 in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... So that you can hear it, here is all of that intro section, these first 4 bars. Should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... From here, we go on to the verse. We're going to start with that same F add 9 that we played at the start of the song. But instead of finger picking, I'm now going to use what I call melodic picking, just plucking with the thumb. So I'm going to go through all 4 strings with the thumb. And then the next chord here I'm going to play is this little A minor 7, but a variation to what we've done so far. I'm going to take the index finger, place it on the 5th fret of the E string. Ring finger here on the 7th fret of the A, strum through all 4 strings. And add the 8 with the pinky on the A string, and play the 5 on the E with the index finger. And when I do this, I do a little trick. I want to get that finger articulated just like this, because the hardest part of the whole song is the next thing. After I play this 5, I need to slide to this B flat add 9. And this is daunting if you look at it, right? It goes down 3, 2, 1, 3. Oof. Well, here's the trick. Slide the index finger to the 1st fret on the E string. Slide the pinky to the 3rd fret of the A string. Just practice that at first. 5 and 8 to 1 and 3. And then you take the ring finger, add it on 3 of the G, and the middle finger, add it on 2 of the C. You can also practice adding the 2 on the C and then 3 on the G, just different orders to get more repetitions. You're going to strum through all 4 of those strings for this beautiful B flat add 9. So this measure, I think the hardest measure of the whole song to get right, should sound something like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Tricky to get down, but remember, we're working on that slide down to 5 to set that up. Good news is the next measure is a little bit easier. We're going to start by playing the 3 on the G. And then we're going to take this and slide it up. And what we're going to have is our index finger here on the 5th fret of the C string, middle finger here on the 6th fret of the E string, and ring finger here on the 7th fret of the A string. We're going to strum through all 4 strings. Really tense chord. We're going to add 8 on the A string with our pinky. And then we're going to play open on the A string by just taking those fingers off. So that measure in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And then we go on to measure 7. Good news with 7. It's exactly the same thing as measure 5. No fluctuation or variation to it. So in time, 7 sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Again, that slide down real tricky, but get comfortable with that movement and you'll have it. It sounds so good when you get it right. And then as we go on to this measure 8 now, we play the 3 on the G, open on the G, open on the A, 1 on the A. And when you do the 1 on the A, bar it there across the E and A strings on the 1st fret so that you can strum through for this F sus4 chord. So that measure in time, 8, should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And so that you can hear it, here's the 4-bar phrase of 5, 6, 7, and 8 all together with that tricky slide. Let's take it nice and slow. Should sound something like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going into the 9th measure, Really easy measure. In fact, I would say easiest so far. We play open on the A string. And then this A minor chord, just take the middle finger, place it on the second fret of the G string, strum all the way through. So in time, measure 9 is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going into the 10th measure, we're going to play that beautiful B flat major 7, the 3, 2, 1, 0 that we've played quite a few times to this point. Strum through all 4 strings. And then we're going to play open on the G, take that ring off. Open on the A. And then we're going to play 1 on the A. We're going to collapse that index to bar like we did before on the 1 on the E and the A. Because then the very last chord here, this D minor flat 13, this is a very challenging chord. What we want to do is have our index finger barred here, and then the middle finger comes up to partial bar on the second fret of the G and the C strings, meaning that finger is leaving them open. If that's too challenging for you, if you haven't played something like that before, make sure that you bring the finger up, and that can help create the clearance. If you're still unable to get it, it's okay to use 2 fingers there. No big deal. Just work towards this. So measure 10 in time is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going into measure 11, really straightforward measure. We're just going to play the 2 on the G, which is already there. And then we switch to that A minor, just like so. So in time, 11 is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going into the 12th measure now, we're going to play our B flat major 7, 3, 2, 1, 0. Same one we've played several times to this point. And then we play our little opening, which is the same thing we played at the beginning of the song, right? So 7 on the A, I like to use my middle finger. 8 on the A with the ring, then open on the A. So in time, 12 is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... So that you can hear it, here's measures 9, 10, 11, and 12. For the quad, should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And from this point, it repeats rather, goes back to measure 5. And it goes all the way through this. And it continues on all the way through until we get to measure 12 again. But that was our first ending. Now we go to what's called our second ending. So instead of going to 12 on the repeat, you go to measure 13. To play 13, you're going to play that B flat major 7. One that we've been playing a whole bunch. Then we're going to play a D minor 7, just flip-flop these 2 fingers, but put them both on the 2 of the G and the C strings. So middle finger here on the 2 of the G, ring finger here on 2 of the C. Add the pinky finger here to 3 on the A string. And what we're going to do is we're going to pluck our G, C, and E, stopping on the A. Then we're going to play the A to finish that. So 13 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And so now that you can hear it, I'm going to play the entire verse. So measures 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Repeat 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then skip 12, go to 13. I'm going to take this nice and slow. It should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now from here we go on to the chorus of the song. One quick note, this song's really hard to play with a click or a metronome because there's so much feeling to it. So when you're practicing this, don't worry about playing this to a click track. Play it with feeling. Listen to the original, listen to the song, and play towards that feeling because this is an exercise in tone and control. You'll notice the performance I did at the beginning, it really is trying to use that emotion to convey something, less with the click. But anyways, as we go on now to the chorus, we're going to start with this G minor 7 chord. To play this 3, 5, 3, 5, we're going to use our index, ring, middle, and pinky. So 3rd fret with the index finger on the G, 5th fret on the C with the ring, 3rd fret on the E here with the middle, and 5th fret here on the A with the pinky. Strum through all 4 strings. And then a little filler of just play the C string and then the E string. Then in time, that's going to sound like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into the 15th measure here, C7, slide this middle finger up to the 6th fret of the E string, add the ring finger here on 7 of the A, strum through all 4 strings. And then play 8 on the pinky E string. And then play 7 on the A string again, which is already there. So in time, that measure sounds like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then going on to 16, we're going to play this beautiful F by taking the index, barring across the 5th fret of the C, E, and A, pinky on the 8th fret of the A string, strum through our C, E, and A together. And play 7 on the A with the ring finger. And then we're going to play a 12th fret harmonic. So if you've never done harmonics before, there's a video linked down below. The gist of it, just touch the strings right at the 12th fret. And when I say the 12th fret, I don't mean in between. I mean at the fret wire itself. Just barely touch the strings, just barely make contact. And as you feel the string start to vibrate, remove the finger. And after we've done that harmonic, we're going to play 7 on the A string, and we want to use our ring finger for that 7. And so 16 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into the 17th measure, now we're going to play this B flat 6, bar across the 5th fret of the C, E, and A strings with the index. Add the middle finger here on the 6th fret of the E string. Strum through all 4 strings. Then we're going to play 8 on the E string. I like to use my pinky finger here. And then 5 on the A. I like to actually move the index to just articulate that 5 on the A by itself. You'll see why in just a second. But in time, measure 17 sounds like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the reason is because, well, let's go and hear what measures 14, 15, 16, and 17 sound like before we learn why I like to do it that way. Should be something like this to sound. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, the reason I like to do that 5 there with just the index is when we go on to measure 18 now, we're going to slide that down to the 3rd fret. We're going to add our middle and ring fingers here to play that F9, the same one that we did at the beginning of the song. And we're going to strum through our C, E, and A. Then we're going to play the 6 on the E by just jetting out that ring finger one. Then open on the A by taking the index off. Then open on the E by taking the ring finger off. So that measure, 18 in time, sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into the 19th bar, we're going to slide down to that B flat major 7 chord that we played at the start of the song, or 3rd chord of the song. Played it several times. 3, 2, 1, 0. Pluck the C string, so now I go to finger picking style, and then I'm going to pluck the G, E, and A together. And And then I'm going to play 7 on the A, going back to the thumb picking style with my middle finger here. Actually, excuse me, with my ring finger here this time. And the reason why I'll show you in just a second, but 19 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And as we go on to measure 20, we're going to go back to our F, the 5, 5, 8 that we played earlier on 16 with our index and pinky fingers. Then we play 7 on the A again, just like we did before. Do the same harmonics, just like we did before, but I'm not going to hold this harmonic like I did last time. I'm going to do this little run. And what I mean by a run is I'm going to play the harmonic on the C, E, and A, and then harmonic on G. And then I'm going to play 8 on the A with my ring finger, then 7 on the A with my middle finger. So a little bit more activity this time, even though it's very similar to what we played earlier. Should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And going into the 21st measure, I'm going to do that same B flat 6 we played earlier. 0, 5, 6, 5 with the bar here, middle finger. And then at the end of this measure, I'm just going to play open on the A string. So 21 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And here's with the 4 bars now. 18, 19, 20, and 21 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going into the 22nd bar, we're going to play that same familiar F add 9 that we've done so many times to this point. We're going to play open on the A string. Then we're going to play open on the C and the E strings. Then 3 on the G with the ring finger here. Kind of a funky measure, sounds something like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Go on to 23, hardest measure of the song, not really. 3, 2, 1, 0, the B flat major 7, strum through it. Let it ring for the full measure. A whole note's not something you see often in chord melody stuff like this, but it's so important to create space when you're playing by allowing the resonance to just naturally decay. So we're going through that, letting it ring for the 4 beats. And in time that sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... It's almost the perfect amount of time for my ukulele to go from full sound to almost none. And then going into 23, I'm going to leave my 2 here. I'm going to leave my 1 here. I'm going to move this ring finger to 3 on the A. So I have 2, 1, and 3. Strum through my C, E, and A. Play open on the A by taking the ring off. Play the 2 and 1 together. Play open, so just take those fingers off. That measure in time sounds something like this, measure 24. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Oh, got ahead of myself because measure 25 starts with that 2 on the C. And then we're going to play the 3, 2, 1, 0. So that 2 on the C needs to play with the middle finger to set up the chord here. And we've played this riff a few times at this point in the song. It's actually exactly the same as measure 2. Just that 2 on the C, pluck the G, E, and A together. In time, 25 sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And here's the 4 bars, 22, 23, 24, and 25. Should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And that wraps up the chorus. So that you can hear it though, here's measures 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. Should sound something like this all the way through. 2 and and 3 and 4 and. And from here we go on to melody D, which is the outro. And if you've made it this far, we're at easy mode now, because this is the exact same thing as the intro. There's no variation whatsoever. It's just the first 2 bars of the intro, in fact. So I guess there is a little bit of variation in that it's less. 26 and 27 is exactly the same as 1 and 2. And we just repeat it and play it all through twice. So exactly the same. What that is your F add 9, your A minor 7 for measure 26, and then for 27 goes to that B flat major 7. So no changes whatsoever. Measures 1 and 2 basically just repeated. You're gonna play it through twice. Sounds something like this to end the song. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And that's how we end this beautiful melody. Let's go and bring the camera back up. This is a really good exercise for tone and control. If you're a more beginner player, it's going to be a steep challenge on some of these parts, but a worthwhile one, right? Learning how to slide and move into these chord shapes. If you're a more advanced player, it's not just about what notes you play and when you play them, it's about how you play them. How can you allow your sustain to continue to resonate throughout this? There's some whole notes in here. We don't play whole notes very often. We want to make sure we absolutely kill those notes, maybe add a little vibrato, use some nails, and get the most tone we can out of it. As always, if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. Best of luck working on this beautiful melody, and I'll see you next time on the next lesson here on Rock Class 101. Thanks so much.
All right, guys, so this week's ukulele lesson was a lot of fun. This is a very beautiful tune and a great one for working on finesse. So again, I want to give you all a friendly reminder before we wrap up that if you did want to get the tabs to print off and keep for your records, that was available at this link right here, or you can go to the site rockclass101.com, do a search for the song's name. Now also on that page was the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer, so you can literally hit play, watch that tab scroll across in real time, highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed learning this tune, and we will catch you in the next lesson. Take care.